Hello, I'm Andy Stewart. Today we're going to talk about electronic transfer of continuing education data from an active provider to the Alabama Board of Nursing. Before we do, let me tell you how we got here, a little history on how we got here. At first we knew we had to identify the nurse. The way we established that was we came up with a magnetic stripe attached to their license card. Now, as of this renewal, the LPN renewal, all active nurses should have a magnetic stripe on the back of their license card. The next thing, we wanted to come up with a device that could read the card. Some of the things we were looking for was portability. We wanted it to be a standalone unit. It'd be great if it ran on batteries or an external power source. We wanted the unit to have a USB port, because most computers today and notebooks are USB ports. And the big thing we wanted a display. We wanted to be able to show that with a proper swipe, you did see the information, so you knew you had a good swipe. Well, we came up with a device, a manufacturer out of California, and actually the device was originally designed for driver's license. Well, we got with the manufacturer, and with a lot of back and forth information, we came up with a device. And the device is the TriCorder. The company is TriCom Technologies. The unit is called a TriCom Reader. We affectionately refer to it as a TriCorder. You'll see that in our presentation, in the Part 1 presentation, and also Part 2. So when we reference the TriCorder, that's what we're talking about. Table of contents. What's in the box? A box we send to you. We'll cover that in just a little bit. Minimum system requirements, the parts layout, the quick start for the user's guide, set time and date, and software and how to swipe your card reader. What's in the box? An active provider will receive a box, and in this box with this equipment and software, you'll have a card reader, the TriCorder card reader. You'll also have software and installation CD. There'll be one USB port cable, and there'll be one AC/DC power supply, 2 AA batteries, and a wrist strap. The minimum requirements for your computer or notebook is Windows 98 Second Edition. Reason why Second Edition, that's the edition that came out with USB support. Windows 2000 Home or Professional, Windows XP Home or Professional, a CD-ROM drive, of course, to read the software. You will need some means of internet access. We put on here the 14, that's your modem. It's a dial-up modem, but any type of internet access would be required. 128K mega RAM. A printer is optional, although if you want to print the roster reports, you'll need a printer. Super VGA 233 megahertz machine is minimum. 1.5 gigabytes of space, hard disk space, and of course the USB port. You will definitely need that. Okay, let's talk about the layout of the TriCorder. What we're going to do, the first thing you're going to do when you get your unit is right here, we need to install the batteries. The 2 AA batteries, they'll be in this unit also, and we're going to talk a little more about battery use and consumption. The other areas we need to talk about, this area here, that's for a device that the manufacturer sells. It reads barcodes, so we won't be into this area. We'll talk about this area at all. What we will talk about a lot, of course, is this area. This is where you're going to plug in your USB port, and this is your external power source if you require that and need it. Also, this area. This is the front of the unit. Your buttons here we'll go over later on, and this area right here is actually where we swipe the card. So we'll talk about it in just a little bit. Okay, let's talk about the unit itself. As you can see, to turn on the unit, there's a ENT button on the unit, and that's your enter, ENT, enter. You'll hold down the ENT button for 1 second. That'll turn the unit on. To power the unit off, hold the ENT button down for 5 seconds. Your unit will go off. There's a menu option that we'll get into as you transfer data and a lot of other things. But that's where you hold the set key down for 4 seconds and you'll get a menu option. Now when you hold that 4 seconds down on the set key, you'll get your menu option. In a little while it'll go back to the default setting, to the display setting. So just remember that if it does go back, you may hold your set key down to get it back into the menu again. One thing about I want to talk to you about the power on, power off. The unit does not have an automatic power off if there's no activity. So if there's no activity on the unit, it'll just stay on. So be sure, and when you're through with the unit, put it aside, power the unit off. Save your battery. Then we have the scroll of the buttons, scroll up, scroll down, set key, enter key, and as you can see here, this is where we actually swipe the license card. And the head of the reader is right here on the bottom, so when you do swipe your card, you'll swipe it with the magnetic strip down, facing up, facing towards the display, and that will read it. And you can scan right or left, either way. Now let's go and set the time and date on your unit. If you just got your unit now, hold your set key. As we go to the top, hold down the set key for 4 seconds, you'll get your menu option. Select your menu option. You'll see one of the variables blinking. It should be the day on your date. Now the key to this is if you continue to hit your set key will just take you to all different areas on that are variable to change. So as you go, just keep hitting your set key, use your scroll up, scroll down to change the variable. When you get everything like you want it, the date and time is correct, then you press your ENT button, the enter button. That will save everything and continue. But just remember, as long as you hit the set key, you're going around the screen. Make your changes with the variable, scroll up and down. Once we're there, we've got the unit set, time and date set, we should be fine. We now need to load and install the software. Okay, put your CD in. It should be an auto run feature. Sometimes it's not. If the software does not immediately start running, go to this run and type in that information, or select it, browse it and select it from your CD-ROM drive, and execute the setup file. That'll start your installation. But normally they do start by themselves in the auto run. Once it comes up to this screen, you'll press OK. Also, we need to know something here. When we're loading the software, you must have administrative access to your machine. If you sign on to a network, say, and you have an IT staff, you may not have administrator access to your computer. If it's a standalone system, you more than likely do have administrator access. But you will need to have administrator access. If you do have an IT staff, contact them and to assist you with this installation of software. Okay, as we're going along, you should see this next icon pop up. Just click it, except if you would all the defaults. That way if there's a problem, we can, if you have to call us, we can know exactly where to go to see how things are running. And of course your groups, click continue for that if you would. And then all OK, click OK. Now, if you see right here, it said leave CD in and plug in your TriCom. This will start. Next thing we're going to do is load drivers for the computer. Now, you plugged it into a USB port. There are 4 ports. Well, it could be. On my notebook, for example, there are 4 USB ports. Some have more, some have less. Each port has a different port number, COM port number. So we need to load the drivers and establish what port number we're using. So when you plug in the TriCom reader to your computer through the USB port, the USB cable, you should get this this wizard should pop up on your computer. You'll see if you would just accept the defaults, and it should say install software recommended. Click next. Now at this time you should see a list of drivers. Now if you notice, in this case, the D drive, that's the CD-ROM drive. So you'll know it's hitting the correct location. And as you scroll over using your scroll option, you'll be able to see what folder the drivers are in. So based on what operating system you have, if you have Windows 98, there's a 98 folder. If you have a Windows 2000 machine, there's a 2002K folder. If you have an XP machine, just take the default directory. That should be the root off the CD-ROM drive. And click next. By the way, if you do not see this screen, you need to contact one of us, and we'll get into the contact names shortly. And there should be in your box also some contact names. But if you do not see this screen, you need to contact one of us. Everything went okay. You should see this right here, ID-E reader. See that? It's a good thing. Hit continue. Also, this will come up again, ID reader, and identifying the driver that's loaded and the device that's plugged in. So you click finish. Okay. Now we're going to talk about actually scanning and the process. There are two ways to get data into our software. One way is through the TriCom reader. We'll talk about the other ways a little later on. But right now, let's talk about the reader. We also realize we're trying to put ourselves in your position as providers, how to make this work, how to make it flow the best it could. Then, and we realized that it's a very big possibility, in fact we found out later it was, that there are times where you may not be able to you may have a class, you may not be able to get back to your computer to download the data from your nurse information who attended your class. So we realized that there are times where you may have multiple classes on one machine. Now, what we did to solve this problem was we had to come up with a way to separate classes. So what we did, we created a provider card that also has a magnetic stripe on the back. This magnetic stripe has the provider number, the effective dates, the name. That's the only information on this stripe. And what the process is now is, let's say for example you're going to have a class today, this morning. You're away from your office. All you have is your reader. You will scan your provider card first. So the record 1 in the reader right now, and at the top of the screen you can tell there's it should be blank at the very top of the screen, right up here. Well, that's the date and time. But right up at the top screen it should be a blank area. And after you scan your provider card, there'll be a number sign, a lot of zeros, and 1. So that's your provider number. Now, what this tells the software once it gets from the unit to the software, that's a class. Now, here's the process. Let's say we have a class this morning. I'll scan my provider card. That's record number 1 in the unit. All the nurses will scan their cards. We have the class. By the way, don't forget to power the unit off when you're through with it in the ENT button, 4 seconds. Now, let's say that afternoon you have another class. Could be a totally different class, different hours, different title. So when you come in, you'll scan your provider card again. So what do we have? We have your provider card first for the first class, all the attendees scanning their cards. Then we're going to have another class later on this afternoon. I scan my card again. All the nurses will scan their cards for that class. Now, you get back to your office, to your computer. You download this information, which we'll cover in shortly. What you're going to see are 2 classes. So that's how we came up with a way to separate the classes. We had to come up with your own provider card. And in the beta test, and also we've been using it quite a lot before this video was made, and it's very successful. One other thing, we know it's going to happen, and you know it's going to happen also. Someone's not going to bring in their card, or they don't have a card, let's say. They're an endorsement, they're trying to earn CE to get a license, or they're trying to reinstate, they don't know their license number. What we ask, and the process you're doing now, we're asking that you know, this is just until we get comfortable with it, all the bugs are worked out of it, we're asking that you continue your processes and also incorporate the scanner. Someone doesn't have their card to scan, they need to, on their roster when they write it in, capture, if you can, the license number, if they remember what it was. Also their name, and make sure you get their legal name. The name, not so much their nickname, but a name that they would register with the Board of Nursing. So that way, if we can match it up later if we need to. And I'll show you how you add these later manually to what you've already have in your system. We'll cover that in just a little bit. But we know that's going to happen, and so I want to cover that now. But just if they don't have their card, and all we're interested in as a Board of Nursing are Alabama nurses or Alabama applicants that are applicants. So if they're taking a course, they don't hold an Alabama license, they're not coming to Alabama, it's not necessary that we have them in our TriCorder or the software sent back to us. And we can cover that a little later on also. That's the last of part one. And if you would, go to part two now and see how this all wraps up. Thank you.